Days away now, Republicans facing fierce competition to keep the majority in the Senate. Yesterday, McConnell said this, quote, all of them too close to call, and every one of them like a knife fight in an alley. I mean, just a brawl in every one of those places. I hope when the smoke clears that we'll still have a majority in the Senate. Let's bring in America's A-Team. James Freeman, Wall Street Journal. Leslie Marshall, syndicated radio host and a Fox News contributor. Josh Holmes, former chief of staff to Senator Mitch McConnell, the man on the spot today.
Yeah.
That's an A-team for you, okay?
That's an A-team.
This Wednesday morning.
And did he use knife fight when you were working for him or
He
not?
loves knife metaphors, yeah. Yeah, he loves that. So it's usually a phone booth. Knife in a phone booth.
I got you. What he's referring to is Texas and Tennessee, places that you probably 6 months ago did not think there would be competition there. What's going on?
Well, you know, in a cycle like this, particularly the party in power, if you're the first midterm after you win a presidential election, it's always really dicey. I think over the last 100 years, there's only been really 2 occasions where the party in power hasn't lost a significant number of seats. I think the mean is something like 32. With a 23-seat majority in the House, you can see where that becomes problematic. What has gotten less focus over the last few months is the Senate, where he rattled off all of those states, starting with North Dakota, Montana, Indiana, Missouri, West Virginia. You mentioned Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Florida. They're all in play. Every single one of them is within the margin of error, and I think Republicans feel pretty good about the terrain that they're fighting on, but it is going to be a real battle right down to the end.
What do you think, James?
Yeah, I think you have very happy consumers in the United States. We're seeing that. I think Republicans need to make it a referendum on the economy, and it's really all of the arrows are going up, whether it's job creation, investment, and I think that is the issue, and that's why I expect these polls to tighten up a bit. The generic ballot, Democrat, Republican, looking pretty good for the Ds right now. I expect that gets a little tighter.
I agree it gets tighter. We're up 12 points, I think, the latest generic ballot that I saw this morning. When you're talking about states like Tennessee, when you're talking about states like Indiana and Texas, even I, as a Democrat, am shocked. But the reality is, I'm a bit of a pessimist here. There are 8 states that are big in toss-up. GOP only needs 2 of those to keep their majority. Democrats got to sweep all of it. That's without Texas, of course. So I'm not as, quite frankly, as optimistic as Senator McConnell is regarding Democrats taking over the Senate. I think we definitely will take over the House. It would be lovely, obviously, as a Democrat if we do. And speaking to numbers that are up, so are numbers of distrust for the president. So are numbers of people who believe Mueller and who believe the media over the president. But I think at the end of the day, it does come to numbers and not necessarily the economy this time around.
Do you think it's more of a plastic knife fight?
I was thinking more of like a Crocodile Dundee knife fight.
No, I think a fork and a spoon. You know, we Democrats are learning to go low, in other words. But at the end of the day, it does just come to numbers. And what we're seeing,
But all I hear from Democrats
numbers,
is that Trump stinks.
If that gets somebody out to vote, that's an incentive.
Is that enough of a message in a midterm to do what you're trying to have?
You know what my party does, Bill? My party is great at marches. We're great at protest. We're great at tweeting. We're great at complaining. We need to be great at voting. And in the midterms, historically, we haven't been.
Right.
Especially young
that
people.
Sounds like a warning for your party. But what about this warning coming from the former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich? He pens an op-ed published on FoxNews.com, and he writes, Trump and Republicans must do this, or the left may just get the blue wave they are hoping for. Republican majorities in both houses will ensure that our borders will be secure, our military will be strong, and our nation will prosper through free, fair, and reciprocal trade practices. If Democrats are able to take the House and gain seats in the Senate, we will be in the media left Democratic Party universe. These groups will oppose every Trump Republican plan that is proposed and likely try to impeach the president at the first frivolous opportunity, writes Newt Gingrich.
Yeah, well, Newt, better than almost anybody at painting in those bold colors that voters often make their choices with. And what he's referring to here is a very clear choice, and something James was talking about with the economy, where we've been at 8 years under Obama and where we've been at the last year and a half. There's a stark contrast there. If you want to roll back tax cuts, if you want to get back into a socialized health care discussion, if you want to have impeachment of the president, or if you want to abolish ICE, Democrats are providing that option for you. Or we could continue on this path to prosperity. That kind of bold choice in the states that are going to be defining this election is really something Republicans should focus on.
Yeah, and I think you do kind of wonder this move of former President Obama coming out and kind of paying Donald Trump the ultimate compliment by now trying to stake his claim to this economy. You know, if it was obviously in bad shape, he'd be calling it Trumponomics, but he's not. He's saying this is really mine. And I think it does tend to remind people that things were a little slower then. People didn't feel as confident quitting a job because they didn't know if they were going to get another one. Weren't as many job openings. And I think that is the discussion Republicans want.
They certainly laughed off the possibility of 4% growth, which we are now seeing. Leslie, what do you think?
I think that the fact that we have so many, people just talking about whether left or right, and I really do think this is a reality, unfortunately, for both parties, that nobody is talking about the real issues. And that's what's going to get those...
The economy is not a real issue?
The economy is, but that's not what I'm hearing. I'm really hearing on the right, to your point, Bill, on the left, I don't like Trump. I'm distancing myself from Trump. Or on the right, I'm Trump's guy, I'm Trump's girl. And that, I think, is going to be a problem for voters that aren't identifying with or aren't happy with the Democratic or the Republican Party.
Okay, so
we're seeing more people that are registering to vote as independents.
So Nancy Pelosi's got her eye on a new job. She's already talking very confidently with CNN that she can be the next Speaker of the House and will be. That's what she says. Kevin McCarthy, House Majority Leader at last hour, was asked about that with us.
If Democrats were to win the majority, I believe Nancy would be Speaker, but that also means Maxine Waters would be Chair of Financial Services, in charge of your banking and insurance across this nation. There are more and more individuals like that. And the reason why I think they would elect Nancy, because remember who's winning in these primaries. The socialists are, and that's much more aligned with where Nancy is in San Francisco than where the rest of the nation is.
Yeah, there was a time a few weeks ago where the Democrats seemed to not want to have Nancy Pelosi out there and maybe not necessarily say she's going to be the Speaker and no, don't talk about impeachment. I think this is a problem as the party moves left, Leslie, and the mask is off a little bit. It's going to be Pelosi again. It's going to be that
She's
agenda
shaking her
again.
head. No.
Real, no mask. No, the party is two parties in a sense. I mean, you have the Democrats, and which I am, a part of that group, and then you have people who do subscribe and like to use the term socialist. Nancy Pelosi may.
Well, Republicans would love to run against Nancy Pelosi, and they run her in ads all the time.
Of course, but she is not running for office, and I think most of the American people know that, whether you're in California or in a national ticket come 2020. When it comes to Speaker, though, I do think that you're going to see a bit of fragmentation because we're hearing in those more red states or states that Trump won, Democrats who are more moderate or centrist Democrats, they are saying and they are opposed to Nancy Pelosi as remaining Speaker.
James has a great point. I mean, Democrats basically did go through this period where they're like, wow, it's not going to be Nancy Pelosi. Now they're like, you know what, the heck with it, it's going to be Nancy again. So.